City Council is called into session. Who has a vocation?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My pleasure this morning to present a very good friend of mine. I've known him for 25 or more years. It's all about Chaplain Prentice A. Davis. He was reared in Tampa, Florida, married to the former Brenda J. Williams for 20 years. He is a father and grandfather. He has served the ministry of the Tampa Police Department for 31 years. He has served in the ministry for 33 years. He has retired after 37 and a half years of service to the Hillsborough County as an investigator for the Medical Examiner's Office. And he retired in 2010, but he never gave up helping you and I and praying that things go right for all of the citizens. Chaplain Davis, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for blessing us to be here this day. We thank you for the honor and the privilege to be a part of such a great community, and we pray your blessings upon these council members as they deliberate the issues and the cares and concerns of this community, as we strive to make this one of the great cities in this country. We ask that you bless us with the strength and the wisdom to surrender ourselves and our will and our thoughts to you, that you might lead them and guide them throughout the course of these concerns. We pray that you would bless each and every one of us in this community to thrive and to be prosperous as we continue this journey. Bring us into oneness of body, mind, and spirit, that we might hear and deal with the concerns and the cares of this community to make it the very best that it can be. We ask these and all blessings in your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Yeah, go ahead. And Pastor, Councilman Goods wanted to say something, sir.
Pastor Davis. Let me say, my friend, I've known you a long time, and your work is impeccable in our communities. I appreciate when citizens call you, you come running in our East Tampa community that you live in, close by me, and I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Bless you. It's an honor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, next we move to Police Officer of the Month. Councilman, yes, ma'am. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
Dingfelder.
Here.
Goods.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Citro.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Vieira.
Here. Thank you, ma'am. Next we move to the Police Officer of the Month. Councilman Citro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Vieira and the rest of the council members, it is always my pleasure to present the Officer of the Month, but I always have to say this. If the community wishes to see what these brave women and men do each and every day, I suggest that you go to the Citizens Police Academy for the City of Tampa. There you will experience what they do. You will just be scratching the surface, ladies and gentlemen, but you'll see what these brave women and men put themselves through each and every day to help protect us and keep us safe. Chief Dugan is not here today, but we have somebody even more special to explain why this officer is getting this great commendation. If you would, please.
Morning, Council. Deputy Chief Lee Burkhaw. Some people say when I put on the glasses I resemble Chief Dugan just a little bit. I'm honored here to represent and speak on Corporal Sean Kruger. I've known him for almost 2 decades now and worked with him a decade ago in a plainclothes squad. He was a leader then, is even more of a leader now. I want to highlight just a few of the things that he did this past summer to earn his recognition. Sean Kruger is a senior corporal with over 25 years of experience. He's an excellent work ethic, and he's a great example to his officers and to supervisors. So during this last summer, he was tasked with several summer initiatives due to a rise in crime and to address several quality of life issues in the neighborhoods that he serves. His first summer initiative developed was to prevent crime, reduce juvenile delinquency, and ensure the parks were a safe place for everyone to use. His initiative was very successful and certainly made our cities much safer. His second initiative was an Adopt a Block, which addressed quality of life issues. They were in designated areas, and they made a visible difference in the neighborhoods. His third initiative, which you all are familiar with, is our corridors on Nebraska Avenue, Fowler Avenue, and Florida Avenue to address some of the unsightly and unsafe conditions. He worked closely with other private partners and other government entities, and he led a team of officers to correct and address many of these problems to improve the quality of life. Because of his leadership, these projects were extremely successful. He received praise from citizens that live in the neighborhoods, business owners, and fellow officers. In addition to these projects, he still continued his normal duties as a patrol corporal. Throughout his long tenure with the department, Corporal Kruger has exhibited and maintained a very strong work ethic. He reflects a very positive attitude, stands out as a leader, and is an example for officers and supervisors. So in recognition for his service and leadership that led to a successful summer in District 2, Corporal Sean Kruger has been selected as the Tampa Police Department's Officer of the Month for September 2019. Congratulations.
Good morning, City Council. April Larson with the PBA. I just want to thank you guys for doing this every month for our officers. It's amazing, and we truly appreciate it. And I want to say I have had the pleasure to work with Sean in the past, and he's a terrific cop and an even better person. So congratulations, Sean.
Morning, Council. Mike MacArthur, Steps Towing Service. Officer, congratulations on a job well done, well deserved. On behalf of Steps Towing and Todd Stepp, I'd like to present you with the $50 Bass Pro gift card and a night out in our company limousine. Take some time off, enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, City Council. Dustin Portillo with Cashforce Company, McDonald's Restaurants. Man, you are busy. I'm surprised you're even here. We in community relations, our job is to bridge from community to our company, and you're doing that every day with these different initiatives. We really do appreciate it. By the way, we have Coffee with a Cop October 2nd. We look forward to seeing all of you there, and we look forward to seeing you there. There are some McGoodies for you. Enjoy. Congratulations. Thanks again.
Morning, Council. Jim Carson, Bill Curry Ford. On behalf of the Curry family and myself, we'd like to present you a brand new customized Mustang. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Mary Lou Bailey. I'm here on behalf of Zoo Tampa at Lowry Park. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate everything you're doing and all of your colleagues are doing to make this city great and safe for all of us and our families. I'm presenting you with a family membership to Zoo Tampa. It's good for a year for your family and a guest, and it also includes admission to our seasonal events, like we have Creatures of the Night coming up for Halloween. So we hope you enjoy it in good health, and thank you so much for what you do.
Good morning, City Council. I'm Alice Santana here from the Strass Center. Thank you for all of your service that you do on behalf of us. And here you are, opening night tickets for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Enjoy. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Carlos Ramos with Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority. Corporal, on behalf of the Expressway Authority and all of us here, thank you for your service. And I have here a $50 gift card to Applebee's and some goodies.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Council. Pete Brevy, Busch Gardens, Tampa. As I say every month, thank you for your continued support of law enforcement and the fire department. It's a worthwhile cause, and above all, thank you for allowing Busch Gardens to be part of it. I've had the opportunity to know Sean for a long time. As it has been said earlier this morning, he is a terrific cop, a great leader, but he's a better person. Sean, on behalf of Busch Gardens, there's 4 tickets to our park, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Good
Morning, Council. Brian Ford with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Corporal, thank you so much for your sacrifice as well as your family. We have a tradition out at One Buck for folks that go over and above with a game ball. And based on your history, we'd like to present you that on behalf of our entire organization. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Council. Michael Kilgore with the Columbia Restaurant Group. Since we're celebrating our 115th anniversary next year, we thought it was appropriate to give you a $115 gift card to one of our restaurants.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Leah Van Name with Tampa Theater. Corporal, thank you so much for your service in our community. On behalf of Tampa Theater, I'm honored to give you the gift of a membership with candy. You can come and visit us on Plymouth Street. Thank you.
Morning, Council. Steve Stickley, representing Crockett's Towing, a Guardian Fleet Service company of 15 locations in the Tampa Bay area, employing 260 people. Sean, on behalf of Crockett's Towing and Guardian Fleet Services, we appreciate everything you do out there for us. And here's another token of our appreciation to Bass Pro Shops. You can answer that other one. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Morning. How are you doing, sir? Last but not least, we got a few things for you here. Steve Michelini, on behalf of Prestige Portraits, we're going to provide you with a gift package so you can go have your portraits done. On behalf of Yummy House China Bistro, you can go enjoy yourself for lunch or dinner. You can go work out at the Y. We got a gift certificate for you to go over there. On behalf of Aqua Restaurant at the Westin on Courtney Campbell, provide you with a gift certificate, lunch or dinner. On behalf of Forbici, you can go enjoy yourself over there. It's a brand new restaurant in Hyde Park. And CRG Restaurants along South Howard. Go have fun. Congratulations. Thank
you. Well, first off, I want to say thank you. I've been with Tampa Police Department 25 years, and this is a very, very proud moment. And I want to thank the City Council. I want to thank everybody in the community. I mean, that's just more than gracious. I really appreciate it. I want to thank my wife, who's here to join me. But Tampa Police Department, we're a team. You know, I didn't do all these things by myself. You know, we work together, and there's a lot of people that on my squad and the unit that worked with me that got these things accomplished. But you know, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and it is greatly appreciated. And thank you to the chief, the police department, and everybody that supported us. Thank you.
Corporal, don't go away. On behalf of the chairman, Louis Vieira, and the rest of the city council, we are honored to present you this commendation for Officer of the Month. Is there somebody else that you would like to have in this picture? My wife.
Here, you want to
No,
no, I'm in the middle? Okay.
Yes, you're in the middle. Here, this is yours. You hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We good?
I think she got it.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And sir, before you go, Councilman Goods.
As I'm sitting here, Councilman Dingfelder leans over and says, "You know that guy?" I said, "Yeah, I know that guy. I work with that guy." It's always good when a friend, a colleague, moves to the next level, and to have you here today to get the Officer of the Month award is really, really an explosion, because it's somebody I know who got a good award. And Officer of the Month is a great award. I got it a couple of times, so I know how that feeling while the gifts and the people give you those accolades. And I just want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, sir, for your service. We really appreciate it. You know, I always think that up here on Tampa City Council, we always have a duty to do things and conduct ourselves in a way that really is respectful of the work that our first responders do, or police officers, or firefighters, et cetera, because we're here to make you guys proud and to serve the community, and you guys serve the community and put yourself first in harm's way, and we really appreciate that. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get someone in the booth to pull up this photograph that's on the Elmo, please?
Oh boy, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
This, Mr. Chair, if I may, and please, fire rescue.
You may
if I
not,
for
just
2
kidding.
seconds.
You know why.
I need to publicly thank 2 people that are in this picture. Although this be in Pinellas County, we went through the rigorous trainings of a fire school. We went through a burning building, we resuscitated someone, we even cut somebody out of a car with the jaws of life. At this, however, they took our blood pressure to make sure that we could stand the rigors of this school. Mine was way, way above what it should be, and 2 men in this picture, Mr. Greco and Councilman Goods, brought to my attention that I needed to do something about it. And I want to thank both of these men for urging me to go to the doctor and doing something about it, and I have. And my blood pressure is under control. So I would like to say to the public, women, if you want to see your young sons grow up to be lawyers, to be councilmen, to dance at their wedding, make sure your blood pressure is in check. Gentlemen, if you want to see your daughters grow up to be professional soccer players or to be the mayor of this great city, make sure your blood pressure is in check. Thank you, Mr. Councilman, for that. Thank you for the firefighters, for everything you do, and I urge anybody that wants to see what our fire rescue does. Tampa has a citizens fire rescue school. I urge you to go to it. Let's get to the firefighter of the quarter. Chief Cicero, who is our honoree?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Honorable Chair and Council. It is my pleasure to be here before you today. Nicholas Cicero, Fire Chief of City of Tampa Fire Rescue. We are here to honor Driver Engineer Ryan Burkett as our firefighter of the quarter for the 4th quarter. Driver Engineer Burkett began his career with Tampa Fire Rescue in 2008. He followed a family legacy, his father sitting here today along with his mother and his wife, to support him in this endeavor today. And his father is the reason he pursued the career. He exhibited early on the passion, dedication that is expected of a City of Tampa firefighter and the long history that goes with. He was promoted to the rank of paramedic, no easy task, and has been assigned at several busy locations throughout the city. He's been assigned, when he was promoted to driver engineer, he was assigned to Engine 18. And currently, most currently, he's assigned to Truck 13 in North Tampa, Busch Gardens area. As we all know, these are 2 busy areas, and consistently, Driver Engineer Burkett has risen to the challenge each and every day and performed his duties with the utmost diligence and task each and every day for utmost performance. He works tirelessly around the station and with equipment, making sure that it is top-notch, and in many instances he takes the consideration of doing things out of his own pocket to make it work and at his own cost. But he goes above and beyond for patients every single day, and he has certainly kept up his medical skills. In particular, on Monday, August 19th, Driver Engineer Burkett received a frantic phone call, unfortunately, from his mother. She stated to him that his father had suffered a medical emergency, something that we don't want to hear ever. He was just around the corner and he responded. When he got to the call at the residence, he found his father in cardiac arrest. He performed CPR and was able to get him to the level as 911 arrived to assist 911 in the transfer of care. I would be remiss, this happened in Pinellas County, I would be remiss if I didn't say our thanks go to St. Pete Fire Rescue for their continued care on scene. They were able to shock his father back into a rhythm and was transported to the hospital where he sits there today recovered. While this is a primary incident that shows the responsibility, technical efficiency of Driver Engineer Burkett, this isn't the only incident in which he excels and has performed, and he does these tasks for the citizens of Tampa each and every day that he's assigned to shift work. So for these reasons, we have selected driver engineer Ryan Burkett as the firefighter of the quarter. Driver engineer Ryan Burkett. Congratulations.
Good morning, Council. Captain Warren Hanson, Chairman of the Awards Review Board. On behalf of the Awards Review Board, I'd like to congratulate Driver Engineer Burkett for winning this honor. And on behalf of the Tampa Marriott Water Street now, we're presenting him with a one-night stay for the night of the event that we have coming up in the next 2 weeks. On a personal note, Captain Burkett was one of my captains coming up when I was a firefighter in West Tampa. And so this kind of hit home a little bit when I heard about this. And I reached out to Captain Burkett a few days afterwards to see how he was doing. And he stated, well, I'm doing great now, but my ribs hurt a little bit. And that's a testament to the CPR that his son provided to him. So we thank you for that, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Andrew Carter, Vice President, Tampa Firefighters, Local 754. We come up here quarterly to see what our firefighters and paramedics do on and off duty. This one's nothing short of amazing. So I'm going to keep it short, sweet. I'm going to ask his father to present him with the plaque for Firefighter of the Quarter.
There you go,
Good morning, Council. Mike MacArthur, Steps Towing Service, and just great story. Congratulations, job well done. On behalf of Todd Stepp, Steps Towing Service, I present you with a Bass Pro gift card and a night out in our company limousine. Take your father, enjoy your time with him, and take some time off. Yeah.
Good morning, Council. Carlos Ramos with the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, driver engineer. On behalf of the Expressway Authority, for your commitment to your community, to your family, and your heroism, we want to award you this goodie bag here with a $50 gift card to Applebee's and a couple other things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Morning again, Council. Michael Kilgore, Columbia Restaurant Group. On behalf of the Gonsmart family, even though our Eulalie restaurant just turned 5, we're still going to give you a $115 gift card. So.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Morning, Council. Brian Ford, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, thank you for your sacrifice and your service, and all the support that you have here is a testament to who you are and what you do. So on behalf of our entire organization, I'd like to present you with this game ball for going over and above. Thanks for all your sacrifice.
Good morning, Mary Lou Bailey again. Congratulations and thank you. I'd like to present you on behalf of the volunteers who are on the Board of Directors at Zoo Tampa, a family membership. And it's good for a year for you and your family, and it includes access to our special events, like our Halloween one coming up. But I just wanted, from the bottom of my heart, to tell you thank you for taking care of our community, and I'm glad your dad's still with us.
Thank you.
Hi, City Council, firefighter.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Dustin Portillo with Casper's Company McDonald's. Hi, Dad. That's probably nice to hear, right? Thank you for what you do. You guys are incredible, putting your lives on the line, helping him, helping your mom, helping your family. We really appreciate what you guys do. You'll find a little bit of goodies in here from all of us at Casper's and our 4,500 employees. Thank you, sir, very much.
Morning, Council. Jim Carson, Bill Curry Ford. I wish I'd known you when I had my heart attack. I may not have open heart surgery the way I did, but on behalf of the Curry family and myself, we also would like to present you a brand new customized Mustang. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Pete Brevy, Busch Gardens again. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for what you do on a daily basis. It's great to see not only in fire but in police legacy. I love to see the legacy carried on, and you're actually a great example. You're the father of the fruit and the tree theory. I'm sure he's going to, this memory will never go away for you, and I'm glad you had the opportunity. On behalf of Busch Gardens, I'd like to present you with 4 tickets to our park to enjoy. Thank you for what you do.
Good morning, Steve Stickley, representing Crockett's Towing and Guardian Fleet Services. congratulations on what you did. And that's beyond believable what you did, for your dad there. It's actually heart touching. But congratulations, and keep up the good work. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Alice Santana, and on behalf of the Strass Center, I'd like to present you with opening night tickets to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Thank you so much for everything you do for our community.
One more? Two more.
Good morning, Council. Leah Van Name with Tampa Theater. What a beautiful story. It gave me goosebumps. I'm honored on behalf of Tampa Theater to give you the gift of a membership so you, your wife, and your dad can come and visit us. Thank you so much for your service.
Good morning, sir. How are you? Good. Just shows training pays off, right? And that's why so many of you are heroes every day at your stations, and that includes the police department. We do appreciate what you do. On behalf of Steve Michelini, on behalf of Yummy House, provide you with a gift certificate. You can go enjoy yourself over there. Tampa Metropolitan Y, you can go work out a little bit. On behalf of the Aqua Restaurant at the Westin on Courtney Campbell, you can go enjoy yourself for lunch or dinner. On behalf of the Chicha's Restaurant Group, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, any of their places on Howard. Prestige Portraits, go have your family portraits taken. And on behalf of Forbici, a new restaurant in Old Hyde Park, you can go enjoy yourself over there. So congratulations. Don't eat too much. Make sure you work out, stay healthy, keep your dad well, and so congratulations again, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you again for all you do to keep our community safe. So on behalf of our chairman, Mr. Louis Vieira, Councilman Louis Vieira, and the rest of the councilmen, I am honored to present you this commendation for Firefighter of the Quarter for the month, for September 2019. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Let's get a quick picture because I know there's some people behind me you want to recognize.
Good.
Lectern's all yours.
All right. Good morning, City Council, and thank you everyone for all the accolades and gifts that have been bestowed here. I appreciate you having my family and me here this morning. Lauren, can you?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to read it.
Good morning, City Council. I appreciate you having my family and me here this morning. I am honored and humbled by this recognition. I am blessed to be able to follow in the footsteps of my father as a firefighter of the City of Tampa. This career has given me many opportunities and experiences that gave me the opportunity to save his life. This was an experience that I never imagined or wanted to be involved with, but I'm thankful for the ability to be there and have a positive outcome with it. Many of the people in this room had the opportunity to work directly with my father, and I'm sure he impacted their careers as positively as he has throughout my life. I would like to thank Chief LaCicero and the administrative staff of Tampa Fire Rescue for their continued support of my family and me. I would also like to thank Chief Warner, Captain Schumacher, and the awards committee for thinking highly enough of me to deserve this honor. To my crew, who are like a second family, you make coming to work each shift something to look forward to. And lastly, to my family, words cannot express the appreciation I have for all that you do for me. We are blessed every day to have the opportunity to continue to spend this time together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not pushing you, but we already know, we've already seen your father. How about your mother and your lovely wife?
Yes.
Would you like to introduce them?
My mother, Joanne, and my wife, Leah.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry if I'm being emotional.
We're not quite through yet. Councilman Dingfelder.
Congratulations. Job well done. My dad turned 90 the other day, and I had to give the speech. And I got to the same point. I started crying because how we feel about our dads. I didn't have anybody to turn to, though. You have a whole string you handed off there. But no, seriously, congratulations to the whole family. I know they've probably always been very proud of you, but especially today.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just congratulations and thank you for all your work and service. And there's, I know we all agree with this, but there's not a darn thing wrong with crying. I always joke that Cuban men are either yellers or criers, and I'm a crier. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. And thank you for all the work that you do. You know, Councilman Citro pointed out before that event that Councilman Goods, Councilman Citro, and I went to, and that was tough. You know, what he didn't say is I didn't make it. Because Joe Greco had to take me out of this building because I just couldn't do it. We got through a couple of things, and I always joke with Joe that I got to go, help me, Joe Greco, help me, because that's actually what I said. He had to get me out of a building. So what y'all do is very, very difficult. It's very intensive, and we're always in y'all's debt for everything that you do 100%. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. I'll be right back. Anything else?
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Scott.
Hey, Brian.
All right. How are you? Good. So, is it just the pause? Yeah. Okay. Well, come on up. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah. So this morning we have a crew from WMNF Radio, which has been here for 40 years. They've done a tour of Tampa, getting commendations and celebrations and plaques and honors from different bodies. Most recently, I believe, the County Commission the other day. But we have to understand the importance of local radio, small radio, because what you see now, they're all owned by big corporations and whatnot, and it's not like what Tampa used to be back in the day. Growing up, I remember a lot of the Spanish-speaking radio stations. They were all independently owned, smaller. You knew the people. They were out in the community all the time. So the world has changed, but WMNF persists and continues on 40 years later. I want to read this, presented to WMNF for their 40th celebration, 40th anniversary. Tampa City Council honors WMNF for their 40th year as it is considered the best little radio station on the planet. WMNF is a dream that was realized back in 1979 and has been entirely funded by individual donors and local businesses. Today, it is an essential part of the fabric of the community. WMNF's mission statement continues to demonstrate to this day your unwavering devotion to recognizing cultural diversity and maintaining your commitment to overseeing equality, peace, and economic justice in our community. Tampa City Council recognizes your compassion, enterprising endeavors, and your selfless efforts for this most worthwhile mission, and it is the pleasure of the Tampa City Council to present you with this commendation on the 26th day of September, 2019. And with me is Cameron here, who is no stranger to City Hall. His wife is Mary Mulhern, the Honorable Mary Mulhern, which some of you have served with. So come on up.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Guido, thank you very much. It's really an honor to be here. We really appreciate this as we celebrate our 40th year in the Tampa Bay area. WMNF and the city of Tampa have this 40-year history together. How things have changed in the 40 years. I think I'm old enough to remember when we first heard the phrase that Tampa was going to be America's next great city. And now you go downtown, and we can all be so proud of what's going on, the way the Riverwalk has ignited our urban core, the exciting growth that's going on. And this community is really, we've grown up together quite a bit in the last 40 years, and it's really just an incredible honor to be part of that fabric of this community. For 40 years, WMNF's been the little station that could. As Guido said, a phrase I coined back in the day, WMNF, the best little radio station on planet Earth. We're a community-conscious, listener-sponsored, volunteer powered. There's only a handful of paid staff down there. This is hundreds of volunteers and thousands of member sponsors who pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep the signal going out, not only at 88.5, but WMNF.org on the World Wide Web that I've heard about is out there. It's supposed to be something that you can also communicate over. We've been adapting to that as well as this landscape 24/7, 365 on one broadcast channel and 3 digital internet channels. WMNF provides our service to the community. We're also your emergency broadcast system station, which I didn't even realize until recently. I was reminded of if in an emergency, we're the station you'll turn to. WMNF has proven itself a great cultural asset and resource for the community, but we also mean business. WMNF is a little station that could and can and does, but we're also a great little engine of economic development in Tampa and Hillsborough County. You know, some of the top criteria that get talked about is for a city and a community to be able to attract top talent and employers to a community is selling them on that location's diversity, its tolerance, its inclusiveness, its arts and cultural and civic lives, and that's all stuff that WMNF does for this community and are proud to be able to do. We really represent this community's vibrancy and diversity. We build bridges, not walls, in the Tampa Bay area. In a cookie-cutter, big-box world of corporate media and auto-tuned singing voices, people are really looking for that authenticity that WMNF provides with volunteer programmers who are passionate about the music and issues we bring to the fore. We're proof positive that Tampa's a community that welcomes families of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Young and old, black and white, gay, straight, or curly, they're all here at 88.5 FM. Real music, real news, all kinds of real people, a forum for music and ideas and issues you just can't hear anywhere else. Our eclectic music programming over the years has fostered a thriving music scene in the Bay Area. Think of the dozens of clubs and music venues, from a very vibrant living room concert series to our top performing arts centers and festival stages. In fact, GMF VIP tickets, early bird tickets, went on sale just a couple of minutes ago. You guys are keeping me from getting those tickets. It's worth it. We also foster civic engagement. Our news and public affairs programming, which is so ably headed up by Rob Laurie, our news and public affairs director, really engages, informs, and inspires our community to get involved, to show up at City Hall, and make this a better, more welcoming community and a more sustainable planet for all of us. As we celebrate our 40th anniversary, we really want to give thanks to those thousands of supporters who've sustained us over the years, and we're humbled to count you 7 members of City Council among those people who support this great community endeavor. On behalf of a grateful WMNF board, staff, and volunteers and listeners, we thank you. By the way, I want to introduce Gary Gibbons, who's one of our really great longtime volunteers on our development committee. Laura Taylor, our development director. DT, who's here. He's our chief engineer. When the emergency broadcast system goes into effect, you need to call him. Justin Garcia, who's in our development and social media department, helping keep us out there as well. We all thank you so much for this honor on our 40th birthday. We look forward to working with you another 40 years. Thank you.
Councilman Dingfelder.
Cam, Gary, the rest of you, thank you so much for coming down, and more importantly, thank you so much for the great work that WMNF has done over the years. I had the honor to serve on the board probably about 20 years ago, and actually my wife and I helped when you all built the new building, and what a great asset WMNF is, especially in public affairs and news. You always bring a fresh voice and an important voice. And especially in these days when the news industry is sort of collapsing around itself and we're trying to figure out where it's going, but we know that we can tune in to WMNF and get the straight story, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Keep it up.
Thank you. Yes, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back in 1979, Sunday mornings from 3 to 6, I was with Mark Bingham, and we did a 3-hour alternative radio program, and that's alternative before alternative was alternative. We played music like Richard Hell, Ramones, and we had a blast. Sunday wouldn't be Sunday without having to listen to the Sunday Simca, Beachy's Polka Party, and things like that. I thank WMNF for bringing fun to our community and opening the world of music, the world of news, information, and thank you, WMNF, for allowing me my at least 6 months for being on the air in 1979. Special events like Tropical Heat Wave that otherwise people would have never experienced this type of music. I thank you, thank you, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing, as Councilman Dingfelder said, a fresh perspective to the news, especially in a time when more and more of our news is becoming manufactured and a little too foreseeable, a little too predictable. Y'all bring different perspectives, and that's something that's so important. And y'all also help to keep us accountable. Local government, that's something that's so pivotal, is to make sure that local government is held accountable to spread the word on different issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we move to public comment. If everyone who's here for public comment, please come forward, 3 minutes a person, and please state your name.
Ventez Knott, Tampa, Florida. That's a nice award WMNF just got right there, and that's good to say. And it's always good to mix it up. I heard the councilman say something about the Ramones. I don't know what he know about Elvis Costello and Black Flag and Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that. But anyway, if you do or if you don't. But the reality is, WMNF is an intricate part of gentrification in our community. And the person that's sitting right here, that was the voice of the African community, they got rid of her. That's Sister Connie Burton, they got rid of her. So when people come and they get these awards and accommodations and everything else, you need to know the whole story. And what you just heard isn't the whole story, and these partial stories don't ever do. We need to know the whole story. We need to know the whole story of this city, established in 1855, and Africans have never gotten 26% of anything, and we're 26% of the population. Have never got any recognition for the things we do, not even for our existence. And it goes down and down and down. When you hear they building buildings over cemeteries, black cemeteries, it's going down and down and down, backwards and backwards and backwards. And everything that goes with it, we're the brunt of it. And we never, ever, ever, new budget, $1 billion budget, and what we get out of it? A mural at a park and some other nonsense. Absolutely, positively nothing. It's a disrespect for African people. And they laugh over it, have tea over it, shine over it, sing over it, dance over it, put lights over it, put lights on the river and all the other nonsense that goes on with it. And African people gets absolutely, positively nothing in this city. Thousands, tens of thousands of people living on the brink, close to homelessness. And all we're seeing is gentrification. Nothing more, nothing less. Something have to change. And even right here, where people try to speak out or come down here to take their time to say, hey, how they feel, the city council try to block it. They hate to hear the voice of the people. It's a new city council. It's an opportunity. It's a real opportunity to do new things, to give a different direction, to show African people more than lip service, mouth service. It's a new day. African people, we have the same dreams and aspirations. We have the same dreams and aspirations, from when they were bringing us in slave ships, to be a free and self-determining people. And that's what we'd like to see. We'd like to see the city council move in that direction.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Did everybody say amen to them great comments that he just made? Thank God for it, because we don't have people that'll stand up for justification and trifling. Thank God. My name is Pastor Frank Williams, located at 1112 East Scott Street. I guess you all know it now exactly where. I'm going to read some scripture to you all from the book of 2 Timothy. I'm just going to read part of the scripture. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own self, covetous, boastful, proud, blasphemators, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truth breaker, false accuser, incompetent, fiery, despiser of those that are good, traitor, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away, for this sort they are which creep into houses and lead captive silly women, laden with sin, led with other divers lusts. I wanted to read that scripture. I hope somebody take heed of what God's trying to tell us. We're living in some time now, what they call perilous time, where men don't respect one another, women don't respect one another. And now we're living in perilous time where men are lovers of themselves more than lovers of God Almighty. We must understand, church, God is the one that created us, and we are his children. And I got to tell y'all, I'm grateful to be here today because every moment of my life is a moment of thanksgiving to God Almighty, who created the heaven and the earth. I know some of y'all don't like me, but that's your problem. I have to like and love everybody because we're all brothers and sisters on this earth. Whether we white, whether we black, whether we Jews or whether we Gentiles, it makes no difference. So we have to respect one another. Just like the young man came up here, we all ought to respect him. He ain't doing nothing but asking for justification for everybody, not just for white folks only. And we know for a fact that we got many problems in Tampa. I don't have to say United States, right here in Tampa. And that land over there for Chelsea and 22nd Street, I want y'all to donate that to me so I can build a beautiful church over there and a beautiful museum. I have a black historical museum, and they go way beyond, I mean way beyond before the United States was ever created. A founder of the United States. Thank God for his many blessings. You know what? We got to quit putting people down because of the color of their skin and stand up for justification for all people.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Next, please.
And we got a man named president. We call the president named Donald Trump.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Ernest Johnson. I live at 2119 East Nedrow Road, Tampa here. And I'm like the average citizen here. We pay taxes. And our taxes should go towards the betterment of each of those communities. I recently looked at the development of the community development in the city $1 billion budget of July 1st. And I'm concerned about, and I want this entered into record, the address 3502, 3504, 3506, 3510, 34th Street. These houses were built by a so-called nonprofit city CDC, City Community Development for Communities. And all of these houses over $200,000. The medium income of folks in those areas, most of them are no more than $20,000 or $30,000 a year. They do not have the means, wherewithal to buy these houses, obtain these houses with a 30% AMI, 50% or even 6% AMI. They do not have it, the financial stability to obtain the house. Also entered into record a house built by the CDC of 3914, 3501, 3503, 34th and 27th Avenue. There's houses from $215,000 to $226,000. And with the county commission's help, the city of Tampa mayor and the city commission, these houses and the funds were diverted to the CDC for construction of these houses. Again, these houses does not meet the median AMI of any of the citizens in those neighborhoods. And so the people buying these houses are creating gentrification. It's called false gentrification because a nonprofit organization supposed to have been the spearhead of these programs. But these programs are actual programs of the city commission and the mayor, and they do not need to meet the needs of the people. I'm suggesting that this commission set forth some concrete determinations for our communities. I'm proposing, and I want it on record, that we want the city commission to create the Tampa Regional Commission on Homeless and Returning Citizens. And to affect that creation, along with the mayor assistance, participation, and nonprofits of East Tampa. Because these situations have no platform, no program, no commission of what we're gonna do. And until we get a Tampa Regional Commission on Homeless and Returning Citizens, these people gonna return from prison and return to crime. The homeless gonna return from one level of fallen humanity to the other. And these proofs of these homes being built now have nothing to do for homeless, low income, and people to meet the federal medium income wage. And we'd like something to be done to create the Tampa Regional Commission on this. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Next, please.
Good morning, Connie Burton. So the partnership that you've developed, even with down payment assistance, the address that the gentleman just laid out, homes being built by the CDC, even with an additional $15,000 coming in from the East Tampa CRA, houses at over $200,000 would still make it very hard for people that's working in the industry in and around our community. Right now, because of these organizations that's supposed to represent the issues of the blighted community and low-income families, right on the corner of Chelsea and 26, we have a private owner that's building a house over there for $230,000. It's becoming a wind gate for everybody to come inside that community because of the need for housing without a body that's supposed to represent the entire community to say how would those communities be able to sustain without being gentrified. And so gentrification is occurring. We came down here and last year, August 2018, and we talked about the need for container homes, tiny homes. There has been no movement, no discussion, because you still have city staff that's promoting domain homes as the wind wall for our community. Even with the Encore, the Housing Authority, having well over 25,000 people on the waiting list, even on the Encore, on their property, market rate rent is over $1,000. What are we to do? And then when people talk about the next great city, what we see is greatness for this city is those who can pay can play. Inside of our community as well. Wasn't here last week when you talked about the marijuana dispensary, but we're going to dig until we find out who the community partners are. How is your hands so tied? You know, Dr. King once said, what is law? He said it's the opinion of those in power. So inside of our community, what we've had, even by some of these CDCs, pastors on patrol, whomever that participated in the upgrading of misdemeanor marijuana charges to felon, we got a whole community of young people that don't do nothing but sit up under the tree. You know why? They're felons now. And inside of our community, where this marijuana dispensary that is over 100,000 square feet is being built in our community, is the biggest hypocrisy. And we plan on making a big, big issue going into the Super Bowl and beyond, that you're not going to have these serious contradictions where our people, young people, have no hope, nothing but damn jail. Women are being forced to live and live on the street because there's no housing in this city.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We
Thank
appreciate it. Next, please.
Good morning, City Council. Joe Robertson, West Tampa. I'm going to just read the West Tampa CRA It's going to be hosting our second annual Unity Tampa Historical and Cultural Festival Sunday, the 29th? Yeah, at Julian B. Lane, Riverfront Park. We want to invite everybody out to come out from 1 to 5. It's going to be events there for the children, the family, and it's a clean event. So please come out to that. With that said, I'm here to move things forward. Back in 2008, can I get the Elmo up so City Council can see this?
Yes, sir.
This is a City Council agenda. I don't throw anything away. I told you I got documents on everybody. This is where a motion was made by Linda Saul and John Dingfelder back in 2008 to have the Super Bowl task force of 2009 to appear at City Council and report on minority business. They have an application. I got all this stuff. Emerging Business Program application. This was down when they had it in Miami the last time. And they define minority business. You fill out the application and so forth. I'm asking City Council in 2 minutes to please have the Super Bowl task force. What they have another group called the Emerging Business Program. If you look at the overhead there, they're working in the back room now. Called the Emerging Business Program. Program goal, they increase emerging businesses. They spent $2 million, blah, blah, blah. It is time now to start having City Council get quarterly reports. It was always done in the past. Otherwise, the NAACP gonna be down here. To have them come and talk about minority business utilization, how they're gonna do that. They have a program called Emerging Business, the NFL. They promote minority business. They just got Jay-Z to help them out. So we in West Tampa and other African Americans are saying it's time for City Council to tell these people, where is this task force? Where is this at? And I know Councilman Gould is going to speak on it. I ain't stealing his thunder, but I know I have sent him this information, okay? And I'm quite sure he's going to bring it up. So I'm just here on this side of the podium to say, we ready, let's get it moving, because I don't want to have to turn back into the economic development shell of the NAACP and start raising issues about this Super Bowl, for having opportunities for minority small business, especially for black folks. So that's what I want to say is let's get it on. Let's start early so we can start tracking it, so we can break the record that we had before. So it's not something new. City Council can do it. They will come here. And I think the last time I checked, the NAACP is still trying to get a seat at the table. Okay? And Vet Lewis is supposed to be working on that. So I'm just here to say, come on, man. Let's get busy with this Super Bowl now.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Goods.
Mr. Robinson, we did receive it, and you called me a couple of weeks ago about it and was waiting on the information. And unfortunately, I just got the information this morning. We got a rule now that we do motions at the end, correct, Mr. Chairman? So I will make the motion in reference to the Super Bowl committee to come forth and speak with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Good. I want to thank your aide. Your aide has always been nice to me, and I appreciate the work that she did.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here for public comment? Okay, we move to our 10 a.m. staff reports. First from Water and Waste Management Department. Anyone here for our 10 o'clock number 4?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I communicated with Mr. Bennett on that issue. I believe that was on the impact fees. Yeah, and he said that they received a report from their consultant. They're analyzing that, and they would ask for a continuance on that issue.
Okay.
It's not urgent. I'm not sure what the next available workshop is that we could put it on.
Yeah, it looks like on the agenda that they requested a continuance to December 19th.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yes, I'll move that.
Yes, sir. We have a second? We have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder to move this workshop. We have a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we move on to our second workshop, logistics and asset management. Or I'm sorry, a staff report, not workshop. Go ahead.
Good morning, Council. Osea Wynn, the Department of Logistics and Asset Management. And you've asked us to come back to provide a report on the mold issues in City Hall, as well as the vibration issues from the construction that was going on in the Jackson Street lot. I provided a report to you as a summary of the reports that we received from our consultants. And I wanted to know if you had any questions pertaining to anything that was in the report.
Any questions from council? Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the report. It's very
Yes, sir.
comprehensive. And I appreciate the fact you also included the vibration issue, because we all experienced that vibration. I'm sure you did too next door. And it was of concern, since this is such a wonderful historic building, to make sure that the new construction across the street was not negatively impacting this building. So I guess I'm glad to hear that it didn't.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When I heard recently that we were getting ready to tear into this old building again, and I don't know when that's going to start, perhaps inform us of the timetable of that in a few minutes. But when I heard we were tearing into this building again, I'm thinking to myself, it's like we tear into this old building like every 5 or 10 years or something. And, you know, it's like, what are we doing this time, and when are we going to be done, you know? And I know the last time, I don't know what happened. I wasn't here, but I heard through the grapevine that it lasted a lot longer, and it did stir up a lot of mold issues and things like that staff had great concern about. So maybe fill us a little bit more in on where we're headed and why we're doing it again, and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, sir, I'd be glad to. So just so that council understands that the project was a two-phase project for the old City Hall. So we're not tearing into the building again. We're just doing the second phase of the project. The first phase of the project was to seal the envelope of the building, so the outside of the building. We had banisters falling off. We wanted to make sure that any moisture that was getting inside of the building, we were remediating and mitigating any of those concerns. So that was the first phase. The second phase had always been to take care of the internals of the building, to look at to upgrade the plumbing, to upgrade the electrical, to upgrade the HVAC system as well. So that was the second phase of the building, of the project, and we will be embarking upon that within the next year. I think contract admin will be presenting to you, if they haven't already, the consultant or whatever the information they have to present to approve the contractors, the consultants of the contractors for that phase.
And do you know how long that disruption is going to be to the occupants of this building, including us?
That's more of a contract admin question. I can tell you that in speaking with Mike Chukran, it is anticipated that the project will start next fall. Now, the disruption of that will, I'm thinking, and I'm speaking off without Mike here, probably be about a year or so.
It's, hindsight's 20/20, but it's unfortunate that they had to do it in two phases. It just seems like as long as they had everybody out of here, they should have just done it all at once. But like I say, hindsight's 20/20. So thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Councilman Citro.
Is there any indication where council will be meeting during this process?
The department, my department, the Department of Logistics and Asset Management, we're working on that to make it as less disruptive as possible. So we're looking at different options. So to answer your question right now, we don't have anything defined, anything definitive, but we will have something next spring, and that information will be communicated in advance to make sure that you have everything that you need logistically to continue council meetings. What we're looking at doing is as much as possible to keep everything confined here. But should that not happen, we will have a plan in place, and we are looking at that.
In enough time that not only ourselves and our legislative aides know, but also the public.
Yes, sir.
And the petitioners, and everybody knows, including Mr. Frago over there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I saw in the report that it says that the incidences of mold are not high. With the last council, I had friends here who said that they and their aides experience respiratory issues and skin issues. Is the city certain that there's not anything going on that's unhealthy in these offices?
Yes, sir. So after the first set of complaints, we had a remediation company to come in, and what we're doing, the current report that you have is a quarterly report. So the last report that was done in the April timeframe showed that there was minimal mold and pollen and all of that in the building. The last, even though it was minimum, it was still below the threshold. The last report, which was the July report, showed that it was a lot less than the previous report. So we do have quarterly testing and reporting done to ensure that there's nothing in the building.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Well, Councilmember Goods pointed this out to me in May when we were all sworn in, but the air filters, specifically that one there, I don't think this one has been changed. It looks like it's the same one, and throughout this floor, shouldn't they be changed every 30 days or so on these air conditioning filters?
Now, I'm going to have to get back with you because I don't know if the residential changing of the air filters, if that's the same as the building air filters.
Okay.
So, but I will ensure that I'll get back with you on the time frame that they're changed and ensure that they are.
Because this one's been, like this since before, this current council has come in, so.
Right, and thank you for that.
Sure, thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Okay, next we move to our workshops. Legal Department on the front porch ordinance. And I remember Councilman Dingfelder made that, I think it was our first council day, if I recall.
Thank you.
Councilman Citro, this is your picture.
I'm still showing it off.
Good morning, Council. Catherine Coyle, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. I provided you a memo with the history of the front porch regulations as they were adopted starting in July 2006, and then the changes that have been made up until today, including the existing regulations on page 2, and then a brief summary of where the rules apply and where they don't. The map itself that I mentioned in the memo, the file was slightly too large to send via email. This is purely just for your reference. The red hatch marks on the map are everything that is zoned RS something or RM something, which is what the rules apply to. Seminole Heights, East Tampa, West Tampa, all of the overlays are called out, as well as the special districts and the historic districts. And the memo advises you that the rules don't apply in the overlay districts or the special districts, but they do apply in Hyde Park and Tampa Heights Historic District with those design standards through the ARC controlling the final design of a porch if it does happen to be added to a building. So this is really at council's discretion if you want to make any changes to the rules.
Councilman Ding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as the memo indicates, I can't remember the exact year, somewhere like 05 or something, Kathy. Ms. Cole and I drafted this ordinance together, probably with some other folks, and to encourage the construction of front porches. Up until then, if you wanted to add a front porch and it encroached into the front yard setback, and I know Mr. Citro is very familiar with this from the variance board, you had to go for a variance or, and that type of thing. And so what we were trying to do throughout much of the city was to ease up on that regulation, especially, and the important issue there was if people were going to build a front porch, but they had to leave it a front porch. It had to be remaining as an open front porch, not to be enclosed at some future date. And that was really critical to the program. I don't know if Kathy mentioned, but and it probably just preaching to the choir, but I think front porches are important from an aesthetic perspective, but they're also important from a community building perspective and from a public safety perspective. You know, the law enforcement calls it eyes on the street. And if you got people, of course, you know, in the worst part of the summer, you might not be sitting on your front porch, but 9 months of the year, you might. And when you're sitting out there on your front porch and you're chatting with your neighbors and you get to know your neighbors a little better and you're watching what's going on up and down your street, and that's good for everybody. So that's why we did the original ordinance. I guess we sort of did it on an experimental basis in the beginning, limiting it to the RS50 neighborhoods. It's anecdotally, it's my understanding that folks have taken advantage of the ordinance. And I always swore up and down if I ever came back to city council that I'd like to expand this to as much of the rest of the city as possible, because I saw no reason why the entire city shouldn't have the benefit of of this type of we'll call it deregulation. How's that? Kathy, I did have one question. You and I were chatting a minute ago about some of the areas where it doesn't apply, but instead, you have good rules in place. For example, in Seminole Heights, I know you do the form-based zoning, which in many ways already encourages front porches or even demands front porches in certain situations. But I'm a little concerned, and I hope Mr. Goods comes back to join us in a second. A little concerned about East Tampa, even though it is, I guess it's an overlay district in East Tampa. So tell me if somebody came to you and said, I want to do a front porch, but my house is already built up right up to the setback line, but I still want to do an 8-foot, front porch on my house for the various reasons that I mentioned. What's the process and what's the likelihood that they would be able to do that?
Since it's an overlay district, East Tampa, the rules today under 27-159, you'll see it on page 2 of your memo. It does say in paragraph A1B, in no case shall the front porch project into the front yard or front setback block average as required by an overlay district. So in East Tampa, for instance, we go along that block front, and if the average front yard is 18.5 feet, then any new construction or front addition to a home will be placed at the no closer to the front property line than 18.5 feet. Now, this rule says you can't actually project into that front yard because it's in an overlay district. So
that you can or can't?
You cannot. Under the overlay district, though, if you need or want a change to any dimensional standard or a design standard, you go through the design exception process. And as an overlay district, it would go through design exception 1. And there are criteria in the code for what they have to provide and the arguments and justifications. If for any reason it's denied, if it's approved, it's approved. If it's denied, the appeal comes straight to City Council as a petition for review. So you would review those directly. So there is a process for it. It's an administrative review through a design exception. And then if we are unable to grant it based on the criteria, it would come to you on appeal.
Is that one of those processes where your hands are sort of tied? In other words, if you look at the averaging and they're not meeting the averaging, do you really have the discretion to give them that 8-foot variance?
It doesn't have to necessarily be 8 feet. However, we do, the criteria speak to, we look at the topography of the land because the grading of properties, sometimes especially as you get closer to the river, the grade slopes a lot and maybe they have to shift the house around. Existing trees and protective radius for canopies and root zones are also part of that consideration. So if there is a large tree in the back corner of the house and they want to push it forward and then they want to extend because the house design already had a porch, we could consider that as a factor to allow it to encroach. There's also existing structures that are already on the building. So say you're tearing down the main structure, but you have this really cool accessory structure that was part of the original house. Maybe it's a carriage house style, and you want to recreate or rebuild the house in East Tampa on the main house on the property. But because of where that was built historically, it is closer to the side or closer to the building, the new building you want to do, so it might push the house forward. We can consider that as a factor to move a house forward and allow an additional encroachment. There's lots of different criteria we can use, but it's using the existing configuration of the
I mean,
property.
I guess, Mr. Goods, I know you had to step out for business for a minute, but when we originally drafted the front porch ordinance, it was to encourage and enable people to build front porches if they wanted to, not to demand it, but you know, to help them. And in a good part of the city, that's already happening, and I'm going to propose in a few minutes that we expand that to other parts of the city, including the RS60, RS75, and RS100. But right now, because of this overlay district, for whatever reason, we didn't include East Tampa. I'm not persuaded, Kathy, unless you can tell me otherwise, a good reason why we wouldn't want to include East Tampa, because when I do, now that that's part of my district, because I'm citywide, when I do drive through there, I see a lot of great opportunity, you know, for homes that never had a front porch to add a front porch, and I think that the city should make it as easy as possible, unless you can persuade me otherwise. And Mr. Goods, I throw it to you as well. I don't know how you feel about that, and also obviously the rest of the council.
When you go through East Tampa, a lot of times you see people out in the front yard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, under the tree, under the front yard,
Sure.
or
the carport.
on the carport.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a big issue in that. I guess I haven't really discussed it with my whole district, but I don't really see an issue with that, because what I already see visually is we're already on the front porch, and everyone's out front versus the backyard. So and again, it does bring some good structural change to communities and does beautify when you have a nice front porch. So I don't really have an issue as per se to supporting the front porch initiative in East Tampa.
If I may make a suggestion, then it's what I would suggest is making the way that it's measured, what we're measuring to, uniform. In Seminole Heights, the front yard averaging is actually measured to the front facade. That allows the porches to encroach. In West Tampa and East Tampa, regardless of this particular rule, forget it didn't set overlay districts, it is measured to the front of the structure. So anything 36 inches or higher has to be outside of the front yard, and that's what we average to. So the posts on a front porch is what we actually average to. You could change it so that it's uniformly measured like it is in Seminole Heights across the other overlay districts, where we are measuring the average at that front facade. And then if you lift the exclusion for overlay districts, then they could encroach within, like they do in Seminole Heights. That way, from an administrative perspective too, we don't have to remember different ways of measuring and different ways of doing things. It's uniform, and it would get applied more readily and easily, and
Sure.
probably consistently as well.
Okay. Last thing, Mr. Chairman, in regard to process, I know that we, I think even the code speaks to the fact that we only amend the Chapter 27 twice a year. And when are we coming up on that cycle? I think it's sort of now, isn't it?
It would be the January cycle. Okay. We're already in the July cycle. They're
So
going to be coming
we would have a little chance to work on it now, and then it would dump into the January cycle?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Councilmember right there.
Thank you. Can you explain to the public the setback requirements in RS 50, 75, 20 or 25 or 20, 25, what it is?
Yes, so in RS 50, it is a 20-foot front yard, that front setback. In RS 60, 75, 100, and 150, it is a 25-foot front setback.
Okay. Let me explain something, if I may. I'm not against front porches. I think front porches are very unique and very helpful in some sense. However, time is taking care of front porches. And if some districts want to have them, I'm not opposed to it. If there was no television and no air conditioning and no cell phones, every house would have a front porch, because that was a way of communicating at one time. That has changed. I wish I had a front porch, but more importantly, I wish I had a garage. I don't have it in West Tampa. That's why we have so many notifications of violations of code enforcement. If you drive West Tampa, and I challenge all of it, the media included, drive by West Tampa street and street, and you go find more violations of carport violations than anywhere else in the state of Florida other than Hialeah. Why? Because the lot sizes are different. The houses are built sometimes in 35-foot lots, sometimes in 50-foot lots, sometimes in 60-foot lots. But to find a lot of 100 foot in West Tampa is kind of difficult, like it is in most of the city of Tampa. So what we've done, there are violations, and they've come here before. Because of necessity, at some time, because of the price of a house way back in the 50s and the 60s was less than $10,000, and the high ones were $12,000 to $15,000. They weren't developed to have front porches. All you had was a carport. The car went in, the car went out. However, when you expanded your family, what did you have after that? You had an enclosed carport. Now, not only a carport, but you violate the front ordinance of the setback because you can't do it. So every car that you buy, no matter who you are or what you do, is in violation if you built anything to cover your investment in an automobile, the paint job and so forth. So just look at, I wish that all of Lake Avenue, from one point to the other, let them build the front porch and let them build the garage. But you know what? It'd be a violation of the law because the setback is 20 feet from usually from the telephone pole to the front of the house. So it's, East Tampa's got about the same problem. The areas that have front porches, I don't know how many houses were built with front porches, maybe, and I don't know what determines the size of a front porch. Is 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet a front porch going out? Usually when I was a kid, the porches were from one side of the house. If you had a 35, 40-foot house, 35 foot, you had 35 foot by at least 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see them built anymore like that. In numbers, you might have one or two that want it required. So how do we solve this? I'm for letting anybody build what they want to build within their house, their lot, as long as they meet the current code. So you push some back, change the 25 in the back to 20? I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do. Am I against front porches? Absolutely not. I'm also not against building garages. So you want to see what it looks like TP City. Tents everywhere. It looks like you're having a carnival coming in tomorrow. And if you don't believe me, take a ride with me. I think you have already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not what you have in some parts of the cities because of the regulations that we have and the setbacks that we have does not fit the whole city. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Anyone here for public comment on this workshop? If so, please come forward, Mr. McElhaney.
You want motions later?
Please. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Steve McElhaney. I think that allowing those front porch setbacks to be included as an allowable construction is important because I know both Mr. Dingfelder and Mr. Citro have seen me appear in front of the VRB for simple things like porches that are unenclosed. And one thing that you haven't mentioned is that they are an energy-saving device because they shade that front of the house and create a more energy-efficient envelope for the remaining house. It is useful. I'm not sure that everyone's going to use them, but they are aesthetically pleasing. And a lot of people are asking for them. Kids want to play out on the front porches on rainy days and things like that. So you're adding an extraordinary expense for someone to get a porch by going through the VRB, and you're also adding an extraordinary process if you make them go through a design exception. So in either way, I mean, you're going to either load the staff up with a design exception or the VRB with a request for a waiver for the setback for a porch. It's not enclosed. So I would ask you to look at not requiring a design exception and not requiring the VRB and make it allowable by right to add a porch if you wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here for public comment? Okay. Next, we move onward to information reports and new business. Councilman Dingfelder.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, would you like motions at this time?
Oh, please.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that excellent report, Ms. Coyle and Kate. Welcome back, and appreciate it. I'm glad you're joining us and helping the us with our zoning matters from the legal department. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to direct the planning department and the legal staff to, in the January cycle, to bring us back an amendment to the relevant provisions of Chapter 27 and the rest of the code, and expand the front porch program, or front porch option, which right now I guess is 27-159, but anywhere else that it needs to be expanded, to include the RS-60, the RS-75, the RS-100, and the RS-150 zoning districts, and also to, as Ms. Coyle indicated, to look at the overlay districts, both in East Tampa, West Tampa, and anywhere else that it might be appropriate or relevant, or relevant, not irrelevant, or relevant, to also include those districts, to make it as simple and easy as possible for people to add an 8-foot never to be enclosed front porch. And also, and we forgot to discuss this, to tweak the existing code to create a minimum front porch. So in other words, some of these new big houses, they throw in these like 3-foot deep porches. And I'm not saying they can't do that, but what I'm saying is don't play games. Don't try and use this code provision to build some little 3-foot front porch that nobody can use, and then you got posts in it also, and that sort of thing. So if you're going to use this provision, it needs to be, let's say, a minimum of 6 feet for the front porch, and the maximum stays the same at 8 feet. Mr. Miranda, I appreciate your comments. I think if you want to, at some future date or something, we should perhaps explore this issue of garages, because I do know what you're talking about. Joe and I saw this often in the VRB, where they'd put up the, like you say, the tent, the lean-to, the this, the that, and you're right. It's because they kind of maxed out their yards. But anyway, I'm going to keep my motion pure in regard to front porches, and go from there.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Dingfelder. And also, and if this proposal on front porches, I think you ought to include the existing homes.
I did.
All of them.
I did. It includes new porches, new construction, and existing, and that's the way it all.
I'm not against that. I think it's a wonderful thing. You know what? It may add to a change of quality of life. Things are done so fast and so quick now that you don't know who your neighbor is.
Yep.
Some of us think we know, but we really don't. We don't know their names. We just know the color of their car. That's it. That's all you see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Citro.
I'm sorry, Councilman Dingfelder, are you finished? Do you need a second to that motion?
I do, thank you.
I will second that motion, and I agree with Councilman Miranda. Maybe it might get the children off the sofa and onto the front porch to play Game Boy. Excuse me, Hulu. I don't know. I haven't played video games.
Is that Pong? How about Pong, Jeff?
No.
Councilman Carlson.
Now it's kids watching YouTube videos of other kids playing Game Boy.
Regardless, any kind of handheld device. How's that?
There you go. We have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder, a second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
I wanted to give out a shout out to our Chief of Staff, John Bennett, who at 2 o'clock this morning became a grandfather for the second time.
Oh, that's great.
And he reported to work at 7 in the morning, in addition to going to kiss his new grandson.
He texted me last night, too.
Yeah.
Sounds like him.
Anyway, congratulations, John.
Councilman Goods.
Gentlemen, earlier you heard Mr. Robinson come forth in reference to the Super Bowl, which is a great thing to come to our city. This time I'd like to make a motion that our minority business office reach out to the representatives of the 2021 Super Bowl Task Force to appear and provide a report regarding women and minority participation and goals for Super Bowl 55 and the emergency business program.
We have a motion by Councilman Goods. I believe it was a first second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Anything else, sir? Okay, Councilman Escalco.
I don't know if this is appropriate now or maybe for tonight, but since it's a workshop, but I'd like our attorney, Mr. Shelby, to assist in drafting a resolution, which I have the words for. St. Petersburg did something similar. A resolution in support of H.R. 1384, which is the Medicare for All Act of 2019, urging the federal delegation to support and pass H.R. 1384, Medicare for All.
Second. And we have, and I'll comment on that, I guess, if I will. Whenever it comes to the issue of Medicare for all, I strongly support universal health care. I think there's a lot of different ways by which you can get there. If you look at the history of universal health care, President Franklin Roosevelt, was talking about getting it under the 1935 Social Security Act. Never formally put anything after that. You had President Harry Truman, who was the first president to formally propose a national health care law, which would have been Medicare for all. It was essentially a single payer. And then President Johnson would ultimately pass Medicare with the idea of expanding it bit by bit. And then under President Clinton, we saw the pay or play, more of a market-oriented type of a deal with the Affordable Care Act and whatnot. I think there's various methods by which we can do it. I'll want to look at the resolution in terms of going forward on this. I've been, from the time I was, 18 years old, a strong supporter of universal health care, but I think there's a lot of different ways in which we can do this. So I'll support this, but take a look at the resolution going forward. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, a second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir? No. Okay, Councilman Citro.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to award a commendation on behalf of Tampa City Council to the Kiwanis Club of Tampa. They are celebrating their 100th anniversary this Friday, and it will be the commendation given off location, and I will be presenting it at their meeting, their banquet this Friday night.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Citro, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Miranda.
One more, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make and I don't believe it's ever been done, at Donatello's Restaurant. And
Second.
Donatello's. And I tell you why. For many years, every Thanksgiving, and it started way back under the Freeman administration with Freeman and Bobby Boughton and Marvin Knight and others. They stand there and they give free Thanksgiving dinners to between 800 and 1,000 people every year. I don't know how many years, but we're going to find out and set a date and get the commendation done for Donatello's Restaurant. So I'd like to know what the calendar is and how far out can I put it out.
Is November 7th okay? I think we don't have any commendations that day.
No, I didn't see one.
Well, November 7th is available. We'll make it for November 7th.
Is that okay with you guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Miranda, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
That's it, sir.
Okay, Councilman Carlson?
I've had and maybe you all have heard this too, but I've had a lot of complaints about parking in and around construction projects. You'll find this out tomorrow at Cafe Con Tampa, in particular.
Good to know.
But anyway, there are lots of complaints about that, and folks have told me that in other cities, when a construction plan is put forward, that there has to be a parking plan too, where all the people are going to park, so that at least is approved and planned through the city. So I'd like to make a motion that city staff come back to us maybe January 9th in a staff report to give us advice on whether we should adopt policies regarding plans for parking on construction sites.
We have a motion by Councilman Carlson, I believe a first, second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, sir?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, and if I may, just a couple of things I wanted to just remind everybody. We're excited about this. Next week we have the ATU commendation, which we're really excited about beginning that tradition. We so far have yeses from, I know Mr. Michelini, and I have talked about some of his clients, Bill Curry, Casper's, Steps Towing, and Busch Gardens. So we have what appears to be high participation in this. So we're really excited about doing this because this is something that will really, really go a long way, I think, in terms of honoring work. Second, I wanted to make a motion, if I may. I know it got out into the media. A motion for Tampa City Council to adopt a resolution supporting federal legislation banning the sale, transfer, and manufacture of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, which are frequently used in mass shootings, including in two of the mass shootings that we've had here in the state of Florida, in Parkland, as well as obviously in a Pulse over in Orlando. To me, the reason that I pursued this was, number one, we obviously had the mayor of Clearwater come forward, and I think take what was a very courageous position in that regard, seeking to have his city council pass a similar resolution. He was an individual from a political party that, at least it comes from the elected officials, don't historically support that. Now, I draw a distinction between the elected officials and everyday folks, because if you look, there are polls that show that nearly 60% of Republicans, according to the National Review, an article published in the National Review, actually would support such a ban. So, and in fact, a lot of people forget, talking about history, that in 2000, President George W. Bush actually ran on continuing the 1994 assault weapons ban, and then when it came up in 2004 for reauthorization by Congress, his White House actually supported that reauthorization, and he was a pretty darn conservative guy. So I don't necessarily see this as a partisan issue whenever it comes to everyday folks. I want to continue to have reasonable voices to be involved on this issue, to move the goalposts on what is reasonable with regards to gun safety issues. We have been told that issues such as taking a look at high-capacity magazines, assault weapons, universal background checks are toxic. I don't understand where that comes from. That's not toxic. We have been presented the idea that somehow we have these common sense regulations and that somehow they're up against the Second Amendment or the right of law-abiding Americans to protect themselves by bearing arms. I don't believe that they're in conflict at all whatsoever. Here comes Sal. I don't believe that they're in conflict whatsoever. I'm laughing. Stop me if I have to. I don't believe that they're in conflict whatsoever. And I think that this resolution, and solely this resolution, and nothing more, as we are well aware of the Florida legislature's, So this is solely a resolution stating city council's preference, nothing that would run afoul of Florida law, or, by the way, the Second Amendment. Do you have any comments?
Yes,
sir?
Algeria Legal Department. I think you're on very thin ice right here. So if you could ask us to look into that before you do something, because the provisions in the statute are pretty strong. No resolutions, no ordinances, no policies. You can discuss it all you want, but once you come out with something formal, there may be an issue. So just ask us to look it over before we move forward.
Sure, and I did check with the city attorney's office before,
Okay.
and I was, believe, given a green light. But if you, as our council, tells us that further investigation needs to be done, that green light, how long do you need?
Okay, if the city attorney said it's fine, then I will back off. I didn't know you spoke to her.
Okay, well, let me do this then. How about when we bring back the resolution, right, we get a second blessing from you?
I will talk to her about that, but thank you.
Okay,
I didn't
it was
know
my
that you had-
understanding that the green light was given, but I just want to make sure.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, thank you for coming in here. I've had some conversations with some of the attorneys as well, but before we vote on anything, even if it's to ask for a legal opinion, or if it's to ask to schedule to vote on this, can somebody in legal just give us a public green light that you agree that we're not in violation of law?
Okay, the downside of this, as well, is that even if the city attorney, and I'm not saying she gave you the wrong opinion, even if the city attorney gives you the opinion and they want to challenge it, our opinion is worth nothing.
Okay, well then, as an attorney myself, what I'll do is how about we come back, is next week fine? Is that?
Certainly.
Okay, how about we come back next week for the legal opinion, and then we take the vote at that time, just out of an abundance of caution.
Thank
I
you.
have no problem with that.
All right, so we have a motion from.
And wait, and I'm sorry.
And I would just like to say, Councilman Maniscalco, now you understand why I always look at Sal and say, Sal, stay right where you're at, because I understand where he's coming from. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
And yes, sir. So what I would ask then is that you come back next week to prospectively give us the formal green light on this, and then at that time, I'll make that motion formally.
Thank you.
But sorry, Sal, with that, are we in violation by making that motion? Do you know?
Well, no, not by asking us to look into it. The question was, if you pass something, and the downside of it is that even a city attorney's legal opinion is not protective, and that's the concern we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to look at it a little carefully to find out if we're skirting it, and that's all, because they're saying policies, motions, resolutions, ordinances. We've got to look at it a little bit more thoroughly, and if you've gotten the answer from that, I'll talk to the city attorney about that.
Councilman Peter.
And thank you. And you know, I'll tell you this, just the idea that we've got to look into whether or not a resolution, again, it speaks to what I was talking about, which is how the goalposts have been so radically, and I use the word radically changed on this issue, where even being able to talk about it implicates potentially being sued and having to have lawyers talk about it. Since when have these issues gotten so radically construed? To me, these are middle of the road, common sense issues that are supported by the majority of the super majority of the American people. And even the fact, and again, you're just a messenger of the law, and trust me, I get that 110%, but even the fact that we have to go through these hoops just shows us on how our elected officials have failed us on so many issues. Those who have promulgated these rules and these laws, et cetera, it speaks for itself.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Dingfeld and then Councilmembers Cicero.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thanks for bringing that up. It sort of brings up the bigger picture of preemption. And for those of us who went to the Florida League of Cities meeting a couple of weeks ago, that was a big topic. The legislature, in its infinite wisdom, has decided that local governments, we don't know what we're doing, and therefore they want to take away our ability to control local issues. On this gun issue, they went very extreme with these penalties. Fortunately, a judge in Tallahassee, a circuit court judge in Tallahassee, about a couple months ago, struck down those penalties, and that's now going up on appeal. Which will be very interesting to see how that ends up. But as the law reads right now, and Sal alluded to it, if we did an ordinance today on that had any type of gun implication under the prior law, that we could be removed from office and fined and this and that, which is totally ridiculous. I mean, and an imposition on our rights, First Amendment rights, and other important rights. But in regard to preemption. And we'll be discussing this in other contexts. They preempted it after this community worked on that tree ordinance for a year. I mean, three of you guys were involved in that. Y'all worked on that tree ordinance for a year with the community, with the building community, with the neighborhoods and everybody. You came to some good compromises about the tree ordinance, and a month later, Tallahassee says, "Oh no, we're going to take that away from you too, and here's the new, the new preemption and basically gutting the hard work that this community had done." One size does not fit all. Communities in this state, how long is it from Pensacola down to Key West? 700 or 800 miles, and the communities differ. They're small, they're large, they're urban, they're rural, and everything else. And the state wants to preempt and just say, no, one size fits all, and that's wrong. So anyway, as a community, as a body, we need to send a message to our legislators and to all state legislators to rescind this preemption nonsense and to retain local control, because we know our community best and they don't.
Thank you, Councilman Citro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dingfelder. I was going to comment on the same thing, and Sal is probably going to look at me, and we have many things that are coming forth. Tree ordinance is one. I feel very strongly about maybe changing some of the rules with the gun shows and weapons sold through the newspaper, marijuana grow houses and distribution. The city should have the right to have a major say in these type of things. I agree with you. Home rule, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you want to see some sort of rules by this council being adopted, contact your state representatives and your state senators and say home rule has to come back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's interesting that we question our First Amendment to discuss the Second Amendment. I don't understand. I was talking with friends late last night about this issue, and they have their views on guns in general, the Second Amendment, red flag laws in the state of Florida and whatnot. But what happened to common sense? The issue is mass shootings, school shootings. When I was growing up, which wasn't very long ago, I'm still growing up, you had an issue with someone, you take it to the playground and fight, or you fight in the parking lot, and the principal would come out, separate you, and you get detention. Now you watch the news, and it's so many students killed. Friends of mine that are teachers that worry about these active shooter drills. Employers, active shooter drills. What happens if somebody comes into your workplace with a firearm and starts shooting up? There was that term going postal, which goes back to other shootings back in the day. But I wonder, and not to get too religious and philosophical, does God look down at us and ask, what is wrong with these people? What are we doing to ourselves? Where you look at what goes on day to day, I don't want to say I'm desensitized, but you watch the news and it's so common. When I was a kid, it was Columbine, and that was the biggest thing because I was a freshman in high school and it happened to high school students. And you'd think things would change. And of course, Councilman Vieira brought up the Bush administration and what he ran on and how things were in 2000 and 2004. But now it's just, maybe it's social media that feeds it, but it's so extreme. God forbid you talk about the Second Amendment, and they're coming after us. They're coming after infringing on our rights. But the fact that, we have to look at it legally. If we say something, if we mention it, if they could read our minds, if we think something. But, I appreciate you bringing this up, Chairman Vieira, and we'll see what happens with, all the differing legal opinions and whatnot. So we have a motion from Councilman Vieira.
No motion.
No motion?
Yeah, and I was told somebody else from legal's coming up on this, so if may I make another motion while we wait?
Sure.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I motion to move the Community Water-Wise commendation from October 3rd to the 10th. All parties have agreed to this change.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Vieira with the second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anything else?
And I think someone's coming.
All right, we're waiting for
Mr. Chairman,
some folk.
if I could, because this conversation inspired me to do a motion that I think we can do. I'd like to ask our legal department and any relevant staff to look into doing a joint resolution from this body, as well as from the other municipalities, the Temple Terrace, Plant City, and Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners, and they would all have a joint resolution against preemption, and as Joe mentioned, for home rule. I don't have the specific language, but I'm sure there's some good language out there that the Florida Association of Counties and Florida's League of Cities have been working on this issue. And that way, all the jurisdictions as a united body, we can send that to our local delegation and if appropriate to Tallahassee as well, and to the governor, and say, let's rescind this preemption nonsense and go back to home rule. And so that's my motion, and that one I know we can do legally.
I'll second that. We have an inspired motion by Councilman Dingfelder, a second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And do you have a date for that, sir?
Yeah, it'll take a little while, obviously, to work with other jurisdictions, but maybe come back in a month or so, regular meeting.
Okay. So we'll do, let me look at the calendar.
Clerk, any suggestions?
After the 7th of
Maybe
November.
Beginning of November?
7th of November.
7th, regular meeting?
November 7th, okay?
That's a lot of work there.
Yeah, you're right.
Chair.
How about
December 5th?
November 20, how about November 21st? That appears to be.
Well, I think it's probably going to be two phases. Maybe staff needs to come back and bring us a draft, so we're good with it. And then we'll send it out to the other jurisdictions sort of as a second phase.
Okay. So is November 21st okay?
I think that's a little long. Let's go November 7th for the first draft.
Well, that day we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. All right, 21st is fine.
And you know what we can do is, can't they bring a draft by email to us? And look at it? Is that?
Yeah, that's fine. We can't comment on it.
Yeah, and then we can get green light with the whole thing. Yes, sir.
John, what do you think about going to the League of Cities and trying to do one statewide?
Do one statewide with all jurisdictions?
That's. It seems like.
Well, that'd be.
Just a lot. Some of these things that we do are symbolic, and to actually get something done, that would be a way to do it. The other thing that I proposed and you all supported a while back was these statewide lawsuits about several of these preemptions, and I had long conversations with Gina about it, and I think we reported that back. Like on the one on the topic, I don't even want to say it, but the one on the topic that you brought up, it's already been filed. 30 cities are filing a lawsuit, and we could file an amicus to say that we support it. But mostly that would be symbolic. And then on the tree one, there's already, I think, a lawsuit in Pensacola, so we're waiting to see what that one says. So there are some legal things that maybe she'll talk about in a minute, but there are some legal things that we could do. But I'd like to figure out how we can actually get something done on this so that we don't have these preemptions.
Okay, we have Mr. Schmidt here.
So the date I'll accept as November 21st for the draft to come back. And Bill, why don't we do that when it comes back? Let's decide where it goes from there on November 21st, and then we can, maybe it's a two-pronged approach. Maybe we get our fellow brethren in our local municipalities to sign on to it. Maybe even Bay, across the Bay, or have and then the second step might be to expand it further or see what the League of Cities and Association of Counties are already doing.
Have we voted on this yet? No. Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder, a second by Councilman Escalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I see Mr. Schmidt here and Sal. What I would recommend, if I may, gentlemen?
Michael?
Gentlemen?
Sal?
If I may, because I see discussion on this, let's just hold off for next week.
Well, Ralph Sweeter again. I understand this issue is coming up tonight, so I didn't know that either. They're supposed to come. Someone's supposed to come down here tonight and discuss this issue. I didn't know that was happening either. That's what I'm just being told.
What context tonight?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Mike Schmidt. We were just led to believe that there might be mention of this tonight, and so we were prepared to be down here tonight to discuss any questions that were raised based on this. So that's why you caught us a little by surprise.
I apologize if there was a miscommunication on my end. How about we wait? We'll table this, right?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, to the extent you've done the research, maybe just make a generic motion asking the legal department to research to what extent city council can, under the governing state law, adopt a resolution supporting some sort of assault weapon ban. So in other words, you're not taking any action, you're asking us to research whether you could, and then we can come back to you with a report and a recommendation. I think.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
Can we broaden it to just say preemptions, and then they can include that? Here's the thing. I want to say I really appreciate and respect that you brought this up, and I've had a lot of constituents call me about it, and I've talked to legal about it multiple times, and I'm glad that you maybe have found a way to work around this. It's terrible that one organization has tried to limit the First Amendment rights of elected officials in the state and put these horrible punitive damages in there. We should have the right in a democracy to debate issues without fear of one organization affecting us like that. So if there is a way that we can do it, I want to do it, but I don't want to, especially with what Sal said, I don't want us to all get thrown out of office either. That'll be disruptive for us in the city.
If I may, what I'm just going to do then is formally ask to research this and just come back to us next week.
Good.
All right, we have a motion.
And I'm not asking that as a motion, no. Just again, so we'll just come back next week on it. Again, it's better safe than sorry. I totally understand. So that's all right. Thank you, guys. Okay, and anything else for the good of the order? A motion to receive and file. We have a motion to receive and file by Councilman Escalco, a second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're done. 5:01. Yes.
Think it's going to be a short night?
No, it's going to be a long one. It's going to be a very, very long one.
You might make that big one.
Yeah, I know.